and I hope to talk to
you. One more question.
Absolutely.
Here's a one.
Okay. Yes, there is. I've been taking people from the front. I'm going to go back to the back and get your question.
On energy and going overseas for businesses, for oil, for gas, for all these things, we're an entirely international dependent. How do you change that so that instead of all our jobs and everything going overseas, how do we get America established back to where our people here have jobs?
Okay. Let me put it in two pieces. Like you
for those who didn't hear it. The concern is that we're buying energy overseas. We need to move that wealth and those jobs back to America. And what are you going to do about it? Is that your question?
Not just
in a nutshell?
But energy is part of it. All jobs.
Energy and other jobs overseas. Okay.
So let me split it into two pieces. One is jobs generally, which I'll address second. The first is energy. Today, we are dependent on buying foreign energy. 70% of our oil is purchased from overseas sources. And what's happening is all of our wealth is going out to get that oil in. Right? We have enormous wealth in this country under the ground that the government is stopping us from exploring, drilling, and extracting out natural gas, oil, up in Anwar in Alaska, offshore, all over the country, and right here in Utah in particular. A big part of our wealth is trapped, and the government isn't allowing us to go in and extract it. We can do it responsibly. I'm in the natural resources extraction business. I work in the geothermal industry, and we drill for hot water. It's kind of cool. You drill holes into old volcanoes, and out pops hot water, and it creates energy. We've got to do a lot more of that here domestically. Mining, we import 90% of our uranium into this country. We have great uranium deposits that the government won't allow us to mine. So we've got to really come back and say we want wealth to be created here, jobs to create here. We are on the ropes economically. The government is stopping us from being able to extract that wealth and create those jobs right here. So as your senator, I will fight for that. Rob Bishop has actually been kind of the point person for our delegation on a lot of those issues. But we have abdicated our responsibility on issues like the Grand Staircase Escalante down in the south, where we've got literally tens of billions of dollars in annual revenues from the Kaparowitz coal deposits that we're being locked out of now, and we haven't fought back when the monument was first put in place, and now they want to put another monument here at the San Rafael to lock up more of our lands, and we've got to really fight against that. We've got to go in, try and get private property, multiple use of the public lands, and as we do that, we'll be able to create more jobs and access those energy sources here. In addition to energy, broadly speaking, we need to be more energy independent. And we do that by more clean coal, technology, and power plants. We shouldn't be afraid of that. That's the cheapest, best source of electricity. We can also do it by being comfortable. I mean, renewable energy is a small slice, but it's not going to be a panacea of any sort, but it's part of the answer. And finally, we've got to have more nuclear power plants in this country. I'm not a believer that Utah needs to be the dumping ground for foreign waste. But if we have a nuclear power plant here, we need to have a reprocessing center. Jimmy Carter signed an executive order that doesn't allow us to do that in this country. We've got to change that so that we reprocess the nuclear waste right at the plant site, and then we drill down into bedrock and deposit it right there. We don't need to transport it anywhere. That's how the Europeans do it. Good coherent energy policy. And by the way, if we put a nuclear power plant in Green River, which is on the drawing board here in Utah, and the counties there have already given their water rights for it, we will create 4,000 jobs in rural Utah for over a 6-year period, and 2,000 jobs permanently to run that power plant. And that's real jobs, and I'm going to look for real solutions as a businessman if you send me to Washington, D.C. Now let me address the second part of your question, and Nick's going to cut me off here. I think I'm just out of time, but, you know, have you ever had a politician speak? Never has a talk time even too short, so I guess. But job, it's another issue. I don't know that we can replace some of the jobs that we've lost. I don't think you can go back and claw back and get some of those jobs back here to America. But what we can do is create an environment where companies, where entrepreneurs can make a profit by staying here. And that means you lower the tax burden, you lower the regulatory environment so that entrepreneurs can thrive and survive. And if we don't do that, we are going to force these companies to other countries. Halliburton, Dick Cheney fame, is a great oil field services company, used to be based in Texas. They took billions of jobs of wealth for that community and moved to the Middle East because of the regulatory environment and the tax code and the compliance cost that America is imposing on our business. We have to change this. Those jobs are so important for our families, for our economies, for our states. And the federal government is an enemy. Have you ever read Atlas Shrugged? Okay? It's a state or a government clashing against producers. Well, what would happen if producers go on strike? Well, we may not have the opportunity to go on strike, because they're making it harder and harder to succeed, they are undermining the very capitalistic nature of our society. I'm an entrepreneurial capitalist. I know that if capital takes risk, gets reward, that's a good thing. Abraham Lincoln said we should be happy that we have rich people in this country, because it tells us all that we can too be rich. And let me just finish. I grew up in a trailer park. I've experienced the American dream. First kid in my family to go to college, worked for Ronald Reagan. I built some successful small businesses. I have an opportunity to run for the United States Senate. That says a lot about this country. I hope to have the opportunity to ensure that that dream's around for our grandchildren and generations to come. Thank you very much.